Now, many years ago when I started growing vegetables for the very first time, I didn't have a single clue what I was doing. In fact, I can remember so many disappointments and frustrations, and on many occasions just felt like giving up. It just wasn't worth the hassle. But now, after many years of reflection, I can look back and can be really happy that I didn't give up, because growing vegetables is one of the most fantastic parts of my life. And I would encourage as many people as possible to start growing your own vegetables. Now, you may be somebody who's never grown vegetables before in your life but really want to give it a try. You might be someone who started growing vegetables but maybe has given up or is a bit disillusioned with it. Or you might be a new grower that's recently started growing vegetables for the first time. And if you're any of those people, then this video is for you. Because in this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 most important things that I think that you should know as you start on your vegetable growing journey. And I'm hoping that by the end of the video, I'm going to encourage you to start growing vegetables or restart growing vegetables if you have given it a try and it hasn't worked out previously. Now, the very first thing to appreciate and the first thing to accept is that you will make mistakes. Remember, you're very new to vegetable growing and there's an awful lot to learn, so you are going to make mistakes. But don't let those mistakes frustrate you or dishearten you, because they're just part of the journey to help you learn more and more. So if anything, you should embrace the mistakes, because that means that you're learning. So just accept the fact that mistakes will be made, and they're just opportunities to refine what you're doing and give you a greater depth of knowledge. Also, there's lots of good advice out there as well. If you know experienced vegetable growers or experienced gardeners, talk to them. No question is really silly. If you don't know the answer, it's a genuine question. And even though you might think you're asking a really basic question to somebody, you're much better asking it and finding out the information rather than being embarrassed about asking it in the first place. There's also lots of great information available on YouTube, not just on my channel, but there's lots of other great vegetable growing and gardening channels available for you to search around to find out what you need and to give you that help and support that you actually need. There's also plenty of books out there. If you're not an internet person, you like books, and there's loads of books available. But you will find that as your interest starts to develop in vegetable growing, you will start to search more and more for information. There's loads of great information out there, so make sure you tap into it. And also, as part of the initial journey, my advice is don't compare yourself to other people. You can easily look around my vegetable garden, or experienced vegetable growers look at a YouTube channel where they've got loads of beautiful vegetables everywhere. But remember, they started on that journey at some point as well, and where they are now is many years in advance. So all of what you can see in their vegetable growing spaces are based upon years and years of experience. So if you compare yourself to those types of people in the beginning, you're always going to be disappointed. So don't compare yourself to other people, and just be patient on your journey as you develop your vegetable growing skills. So my first piece of key important information is that you will make mistakes without a doubt, but try and use those as a learning opportunity rather than be discouraged. Now, my second piece of really important advice when you're starting to grow vegetables for the very first time is be realistic. Now, it's easy with all that enthusiasm to go out and buy expensive tools and maybe get yourself a greenhouse and spend quite a lot of money up front, but only to find that it was harder than you thought and you didn't really like it. And that could result in an awful lot of wasted money if you don't proceed with growing vegetables. So my advice would be, if you're thinking of growing vegetables, take a dip in the toe approach to begin with. Just find a very small patch in your garden, maybe a small raised bed or even a container, and just plant a few vegetable seeds just to see how you get on. And I guarantee when those seeds germinate, you'll start to get excited. So try not to dive in too deeply until you're satisfied that it's something that you really want to do. And if you are going to grow vegetables for the first time, it makes sense to select vegetables that are reasonably easy to grow. Things like radish and lettuce and beans are all good vegetables that grow quite easily. If you have enough space, you might even plant a few potatoes. They tend to grow quite easily and with little maintenance. But what you don't want to do is select vegetables that may be more difficult to grow, and therefore you might be disappointed if they don't quite work out for you. So select easy vegetables to start with. In fact, there is a video on my channel that gives a few suggestions for vegetables that you might want to grow for the first time that are quite easy to grow. So I'll put a link to that video in the video description below. So my second piece of advice, if you're growing vegetables or planning to grow vegetables for the first time, is be realistic and start off small to see if you like it first. And if after that you decide that you do like growing vegetables, then you can expand your vegetable growing and expand your skills at the same time. Now the final point I'm going to make is quite an important one, because a lot of people who start growing vegetables do it because they think that it's going to save them an awful lot of money. But the reality is, in my experience, growing my own vegetables doesn't save me an awful lot of money, because there is some investment needed, particularly at the beginning. That's why I've just said in the previous tip, don't dive into growing vegetables and spending an awful lot of money until you're certain that it is for you. But there is some initial expense. Now we're quite frugal as vegetable growers and we'll save money where we can. So we might make our own compost, for example, which is a fantastic way of saving money and a brilliant resource. And there are videos on my channel that show you how to make compost, and I will pop a link below in the video description for those videos as well, so you can check those out in your own time. We might collect our own seeds, we might plant swap and share seeds with other growers. There are ways in which we can save money, but overall there is an investment needed in order to be able to grow vegetables adequately. So on certain occasions you might have to pay for compost, particularly if you're using raised beds or a no-dig method of gardening and you're not making your own compost. That can be very, very expensive. Also, even though I collect some seeds, I still have to buy seeds every single year. That costs money as well. Another costs include things like making sure you've got a decent fork and a spade and a rake, because if you are growing vegetables on a regular basis, they're really important tools. You need a trowel and a hand fork. So there are things that you will need to spend money on. They can be quite expensive initially, and there are ongoing costs year by year. So for example, you might need to buy netting or other protection for your vegetables, or support canes for your vertical growing vegetables, etc. So therefore, if you're planning to grow vegetables on the assumption that you're going to save lots of money, the chances are that that's probably not going to happen. But of course, the advantages of growing your own vegetables are fantastic. There are so many. It's lovely being out in the fresh air. It's lovely seeing the vegetables grow. When you harvest your vegetables, you know where they come from. You know you haven't used pesticides. You know that nothing's been added to them. And that's very different from when you're buying your vegetables from a supermarket or a greengrocer's or a store, because you have no idea where those vegetables have come from or how long they've been on the shelf, or even if they've been treated with pesticides. All of that uncertainty goes away when growing your own vegetables. So it's very much being aware that if you want to grow vegetables for the first time, you're not going to save huge amounts of money compared to buying your vegetables in stores or supermarkets, but we can, as I've already mentioned, make cost savings in other ways to make it as cheap as possible. But the benefits for me in growing vegetables is clearly not the savings in money, because I don't really make any major savings. I would say now, as an experienced vegetable grower, my vegetables are pretty much cost neutral. I spend as much on them as I would say by buying them in the shops. But it's all those added benefits that I've just mentioned that make it really worthwhile. So my final point is more of a reality point really, rather than a piece of advice. If you decide to grow vegetables to save money, chances are that's not going to be the case. But don't discount all of those other added benefits that make it really worthwhile. So there you have the 3 most important things that I think that you should know if you're thinking of growing vegetables for the first time, or maybe you're a new vegetable grower, and I hope you find those helpful. And I hope that the points I've covered have really helped to emphasise the fact that vegetable growing is very much a journey. When you're at the start of that journey and everything is new, then clearly there's a lot to learn and you will make mistakes. But don't let them put you off vegetable growing. It's the best thing that you'll ever do. You'll find it so enjoyable, and you get lovely fresh fruit, vegetables and herbs along the way. Now, in order to help you on that journey, I've got a completely free gift that you should find really helpful. This is my sowing and planting calendar, which shows you various types of popular vegetables on the left-hand side, and then when to sow them indoors, sow them outdoors, plant them, and when to harvest them. There are 4 pages of vegetables on my sowing and planting calendar, which might give you some help in deciding what vegetables to grow and when. If you haven't got a copy of this already, then I'll put a downloadable link below this video and you can download it for yourself, and I really hope you find that helpful. I also hope that this video has helped encourage you that if you have maybe thought about growing vegetables and never ever tried, or maybe you have started growing vegetables and given up, then hopefully I've encouraged you to give it another try. And also, if you've got any tips for other vegetable growers or other experience that you'd like to share, then please pop a comment below, because it's always fantastic to share these types of things with other growers so that we can all learn together. But I really hope you've enjoyed the video and you found it helpful, and if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to subscribe to the channel for future videos on how to sow and grow fruit, vegetables and flowers, and 1 or 2 recipe ideas, don't forget to press the subscribe button. And I'll see you all on the next video.